It, oh God.
Well, now it's Sunday of 7/10 weekend, and it's time to jump into the rotation.
That's
Whoa.
fun.
We are actually getting professional looking, except for the fact we never quite start on time.
And well, yeah, but like it's our show, so fuck it. We do whatever the fuck we want to do. And it's free for people. So like we do this for people for free. So it's like, let's give them an inferior product. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
let's start the show by saying how bad the show sucks.
Let's start out by saying, hi, this is Gary Stein, your political director of Suncoast Normal, here with my co-host Carlos Armida, who is officially my Luther, my anger interpreter from Detroit.
What is that?
I've decided I'm hiring you for that reason. Although the problem is, Carlos never seems to be angry about anything.
Yo, that's the thing, is like, that's why I smoke medical marijuana, because inside I'm just a ball of furious anger, but the marijuana fixes it.
So you're internally pissed.
I'm internally pissed, but I just push that shit down, never let it out.
Well, the topic here might just totally piss you off.
What is it?
Delta 8.
I sell Delta 8.
That is part of the issue.
I don't know if you guys are aware, but I have a store where I sell hemp products.
That's right. And guess what it's called?
Chillum.
Hence the shirt.
Yeah.
Now, let's get everybody up to speed here in case they don't know what Delta 8 is, although it's been kind of in and out of the news for the last couple of years, because basically the Farm Bill of 2018 legalized hemp and all of its derivatives, but it specifically said you cannot have Delta 9 THC at a rate of any more than 0.3%. But it kind of left out the names of all the other cannabinoids, CBN,
well,
CBD,
CBC. Like it generalized. It said something like, as long as it's less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC, the rest of the cannabinoids are okay. Yeah. And I think they were just trying to say, hey, you can sell CBD if you want to.
And one of the cannabinoids in hemp, of course, is Delta 8 THC, which is similar to Delta 9 only because the carbon is shifted over one molecule.
Well, what's crazy is there's several different forms of THC. There's THCA, THCB, right. Delta 8. I got Delta 10 THC now. We're selling Delta 10 THC at Chillum, and it's like stronger than regular Delta 9 pot.
And THCA is the non-psychoactive. It is the acid form of THC. And it needs to be heated to be activated or decarboxylated, as you probably have heard, for anybody who uses a magic butter machine.
Yo,
who does not sponsor this show, by the way.
they good guys though. Hey, but here's the thing though, right? So like THCV, I can't wait for this shit to come out and like be out on the market, because it's like I hit a THCV pen once and I fucking got high, but I was hungry when I hit it. It took away my appetite. It's anti-munchie weed.
Well, you know that Delta 8 actually does help control nausea.
Really?
I actually had to do a little bit looking at to find out what the health benefits were of it. But we do have kind of a medical program here, and we'll get into that topic a little bit later. But in fact, a lot of people call it, weed light.
They do. Here we say it's 70% as potent as Delta 9 THC.
And now the question is that, because a lot of people sell it as a distillate, but our friend Greg Gerdeman, who is a pharmacologist, a doctor of pharmacology, among other things,
a smart guy,
very smart guy. He talks about the fact that in order to get this product out, you actually have to use a reagent on CBD to acidify it and move that carbon over one. So it's actually made from a chemical reaction and not merely just distilling it out.
Like it doesn't, it grows naturally on the plant. Like Delta 8 is a natural chemical.
At low levels, yes.
Molecule, yeah. It's very low levels, and in order to get that, you actually have to change CBD into Delta 8 THC. And like, my friend Gary Stein here was saying. But Here's the thing, like it's not necessarily like and as to the owner of a hemp store, you do have to be careful with Delta 8 because of that process specifically, because it could be dangerous if it's done wrong. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of like components to it that could be harmful. You know, like I believe there's some sort of solvent that needs to be used to move that chemical over, and you know, when it's not done correctly, it's bad. But delta 8 THC is not necessarily it's not at all a bad thing, right? Like it's essentially like water. Like water is always H2O, no matter if it's made in a laboratory or if it's made in the clouds in the sky, or however God made water, man. But
wait a minute. Did you catch that, guys?
God made
water.
Nobody
owns,
from
the lips of the biggest atheist in town.
Nobody owns the water, man. God made the water.
There you go.
But
that just blows that whole atheism to hell, doesn't it?
So delta 8 is a natural thing. It's a molecule. It's proven to be naturally occurring in the plant, right? And it's safe. But if it's not if the conversion from CBD to delta 8 is not done properly, it could be a dangerous thing.
And for those people who are in chemistry here, they know there's a difference between a reagent and a solvent.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's the reagent?
Okay, a reagent is something that actually changes the chemical makeup of the item that you're working with, whereas a solvent actually changes the physical thing, as in removing it from a thing, or diluting it out, or allowing you to distill it out of a particular product, but keeping the molecule intact. Here, the molecule actually changes. So here was the big question, because we live in a country that loves to regulate, right? And they're saying, well, maybe we have to regulate delta 8, and if we don't, there'll be an unsafe product on the market. Now, granted, almost anybody with a chemistry set can make delta 8. Now, in college, we were distilling bananaine from the bananas from the cafeteria, because couldn't always afford that $16 brickweed. But the fact is, we were actually doing these little chemical experiments, and we were actually ingesting that product. They kind of frown on that in the government right now, in regards to the fact that a product should be regulated and checked to make certain it's fully safe.
Well, I don't think it's necessary. Like with delta 8 in particular, I don't think it's necessarily if it should be regulated, because CBD essentially is regulated by individual states already. So like the Department of Agriculture has already come into this store, looked at our delta 8 products, made sure that the packaging is all right, and even look for products that they found out there in the market already that have had harmful chemicals in them. So like they were on the lookout for these things. They did look at my stuff and all that. I think the issue is who regulates it. Should it be the Department of Agriculture or the Office of Medical Marijuana, right?
Or the Office of Regulated Industries.
Of regulated industries.
Oh, by the way, in case you haven't seen it yet, we've just been joined from our man above the Beltway.
Yeah, we've been going on, Kano. I'm sorry. Hi, Kano.
Our director of Suncoast Normal, Chris Kano. As you probably heard, that the topic of segment A here is delta 8, and the question is whether it should be regulated and whether the government should get involved in it.
Can't hear him.
Okay, we can't hear you, Chris. Therefore, I assume he has nothing to say. Oh, damn. Okay.
All right. So look, I am not a conservative by any means, but I also am a master in public administration. So I am well educated and versed in how the government regulatory structures can be corrupted by the market itself. The FDA is a prime example of one agency that we have in this country where the regulators themselves are paid millions of dollars by the same pharmaceutical companies that they're tasked with regulating to write white papers in favor of those pharmaceutical companies' products. And so that in itself creates a concern in that anybody who's regulating the cannabis industry needs to be apart from the actual industry. They need to be away from, and not have any vested stake or interest in the people that they're regulating if we're going to do this properly. That's my 2 cents on it.
And of course, the question is, because the MMTCs are really coming out full force right now to demand regulation of Delta 8. Now, is it a safety concern or is it a profit concern? I'm asking the guys out there who are awake enough to watch the show right now, what do you think? Think that the MMTCs out there are trying to squelch Delta 8 because of profit concerns or safety concerns? Because they seem to be only talking about the safety. But is that really their concern?
No, their concern is that people are coming to buy Delta 8 products at regular stores instead of buying cannabis because they're overcharging the shit out of us for regular cannabis. So, all right. So I may be a little bit biased here, seeing as I sell Delta 8. But
well, Carlos, let me chime in. Since I don't sell Delta 8, I have no vested interest in it. I firmly believe that MMTCs, if they really had a vested interest in safety and protection of their patients, we wouldn't see major MMTCs in Florida selling moldy product to sick people.
That's kind of what I was about to say. Like, they're not exactly doing their job right.
Yeah, it's kind of
so
like,
why are they trying to say that somebody outside, like, they should pay attention to their own bullshit?
So who do you think should actually regulate this product then?
I said that it's already being regulated by the Department of Agriculture.
Yes. Are they actually checking on the production things of that sort? I went to one of these CBD shows before the pandemic, and besides the fact that I couldn't help noticing that people were white labeling everybody else's products, and the fact that you had absolutely no idea where it came from. But the guy who won the prize that day for the best new product, it was this guy that created a pet product, and he admitted that he was making it in his bathroom. And I'm thinking to myself, did you make it next to the toilet or away from the toilet? Because our dog drinks out of the toilet. Maybe that's the reason why you were actually creating a pet product that you made in your bathroom and you were touting how great it was. Mm-hmm. Generally, they don't make medicines or any products for consumption in bathrooms or basements, for that matter.
That guy admitted to doing something illegal. Because I mean, in the state of Florida, it's the cottage. There's some rule that's about like cottage businesses. It's called right. Like you're not allowed to have your CBD business within your own home. You have to be licensed to manufacture it. You have to be licensed to sell it. Right, and the Department of Agriculture has to look at your products too. I don't think there needs to be more than that.
Now, I saw a very interesting article about regulation that came through yesterday. There is a school for the mentally impaired and things of that sort in Massachusetts that actually attaches electroshock devices onto their people so that they can go ahead and zap them whenever they are misbehaving or they're going out of control and things of that sort. And they claim that this particular thing actually helps. Now, my grandmother, when she lost her daughter to childhood disease, was put into an institution and was given electroshock therapy. It was common back in the 1960s. Anybody who's seen movies like Bell Jar or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest know it was very common. But the FDA actually banned the use of electroshock therapy, and yet they were still allowing it in this one particular thing. And they sued, and it went to a federal court that was associated with the FDA, and it actually said that the FDA cannot get involved in the relationship between the doctor and patient, and therefore they flipped the ban. So if it's okay to fry someone's brain and nerve endings using electroshock therapy because you can't get involved between the doctor and the patient, what is going on with the Controlled Substance Act of 1970, where the FDA basically got in between the doctor and the patient and said, this has no medicinal value because we decided it has no medicinal value? Because there was already studies at that point in time that saying that it did have medicinal value. And since 1970, there have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of papers verifying the fact that it does have medical value, and yet it's still listed as Schedule 1 right now. It's like they have a blinder on. And yet there's actually a court order right now from a federal judge saying that even when it comes to electroshock therapy, the FDA has no right to ban it. So guys, I think there's a bit of a misconception here by somebody. What do you think?
Well, Gary, the one thing you got to remember is that the Controlled Substances Act wasn't a regulatory structure in the sense that it was, empowering the FDA. It was passed by Congress, and elected officials consistently here in Florida and throughout the country get in between the patient-doctor relationship and even the relationship between two people who love each other. So, the government overreach by our elected officials is really the big issue that we have with Schedule 1 status, because, Congress came up with these bright ideas to put cannabis in the Schedule 1 status. It's going to take an act of Congress to fix it, which is why we see the MORE Act gaining traction again in this legislative session coming up, which is why we also see Senator Schumer, Senator Booker, and Senator Wyden pushing their own cannabis legalization bill through the Senate. It is the elected officials who screwed the pooch, and it is the elected officials in Florida who have created this system where we have a limited number of actors. Some of those actors are putting out bad products. Patients are overpriced, overtaxed, and it just doesn't work. And I think in the grand scheme of things, they never wanted it to work correctly in the first place. So that way, eventually they could shut it down. And that's where we see, allies like Senator Brandis being removed from chairmanships, because he helped in his role in a limited capacity to try and kill the THC cap bill. And I would not be surprised if the person who
really that's happening, Brandis.
Huh?
Yeah, he was removed from his chairmanship of the Judiciary
I didn't know they did that to him.
And they put him in charge of government oversight instead, which is not making him very happy at all. And also takes him out of that role where he could possibly kill the that cap bill if it gets in front of him. But not just that, but like any cannabis bill that he wants to get. And the fact that Brandis was voting no on a lot of things this last year that they didn't expect anybody from the R side to go ahead and say no to, like S1, which was the bill that allows you to plow a car into protesters. And yet, I mean, history has shown will show that he actually was on the right side of this, because of the fact that law, as soon as it was signed by the governor, already has legal challenges. And so therefore it's not being implemented. Another bill that automatically got legal challenges is the anti-John Morgan bill, which prevents people from putting any more than $3,000 into a ballot initiative. That has also been stayed by the courts, saying it is a truncation of First Amendment rights. And so therefore it cannot go forward. So it's not unusual for the legislature in Tallahassee to write a bill that automatically goes from the signature of the governor right into the courts, but it happens a lot. And especially in this last year, and a lot of the bills that they came up with, including their voting bill and things of that sort, they're already getting a pushback on. And one other very important bill that they're already getting a pushback on, and which they were kind of like ignoring in the news, it has to do with our licensing structure again. Now they had said that they were finally, now that Flora Grown has fallen, are going to start giving out licenses, but they're going to start an application process. But they decided the way that they were going to do it is by giving out the Pigford license first. Now, the Pigford license, for those of you who aren't familiar, is the one minority license they were going to allow, and they were going to make certain that whoever was in it had to be in what is called the Pigford class, which was a class action suit from 1991, I believe it was, where people who were not allowed to get farm loans because they were discriminated against as in African Americans sued the government, and it created one of the largest class action suits in history. Yeah. And when they started this out, they had two requirements. They had to be in the Pigford class, and you had to be a member of the Florida Black Farmers and Agriculturalists Association, which unfortunately was a closed group, and therefore, according to the Supreme Court, it created a special law. And so it was automatically challenged by a gentleman who was a farmer over in Pensacola, and he held on to his lawsuit until they actually got Darrell Roussan to go ahead and file a bill that removed the Black Farmers Association, figuring that would make it go forward. But right behind Darrell Roussan, and something they don't even mention, was a Native American by the name of Donovan Craig Tingle, also from the Panhandle area, who was a Native American and a member of what is called the Keep Siegel class. And they didn't discuss the Keep Siegel class, but it was a similar class action suit that involved Native Americans, almost identical to the Pigford class. And so he had a rightful reason to sue, and his case has been on a stay since July of 2019 waiting to see what was going on. He can activate it at any point in time and block the Pigford license from going forward. And that's interesting because the DOH says they're going to give that license out first, and they're going to use it as a template for creating the application for all the other applications they plan on doing. But if that one license is held up indefinitely, and you know how slow our judicial system works, it can sometimes take years for these lawsuits to go through. We're not going to see any new applications soon because they're going to be waiting for Pigford to go through. And it's an interesting little twist, but something they really have not been discussing. But luckily, you have us to go ahead and inform you, let you know just the kind of games that they're playing. But that is where we stand as far as that's concerned. And I got to tell you that federal regulation, sometimes it works, sometimes it works against it. Now, today, for those of you who don't know it, Richard Branson of Virgin Airlines is blasting himself off into space in a new chance to allow ordinary people to get into space. Now, you might ask, because originally the Apollo program, after going to the moon and things of that sort, had planned over many next couple of decades to put citizens into space for various number of reasons, but it didn't happen. The number of people who could be astronauts was a highly constricted group. Why? Because the government was in control of exactly who they felt was going to go up there. So the whole idea of public use of going off into space was basically never happened. Even with the shuttle program, it was shut down before it went to that stage. And so they finally gave the program to the private industry. And now, finally, there will be people beyond government, the military and things of that sort to go into space.
Hey, Gary. Hey, Kano.
Yo.
Guess what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time for an unfortunately named news segment by Gary Stein.
Wow. Yeah. Let's the name of the show and go right to some little bits of news.
But Gary, everybody who's listening doesn't know the unfortunate name, just the ones who are watching. So you got it, Carlos.
Do I have to say it out loud?
Yes, Carlos. Yeah. What is the name of Gary's segment?
The G Spot.
All right, the G Spot.
Because his name's Gary.
That's right.
It starts with a G. And then there's another thing about a lady that I don't know much about, but I heard about it.
Actually, there was a guy named Grafenberg who named it. Now I don't know, when he decided to go ahead and say, something. Let me just check around and find a spot I want to name for myself. And he just kind of said, "Oh, look inside there. That's what it is." And the girls got excited. But that's just the way it happened. So let's go on from there. This was a big week actually for news as far as cannabis is concerned, because we had two states, Connecticut, which moved into its legal state, and Virginia, which is interestingly enough, now guys, on July 1st in Virginia, and I was talking with Brett Poffenberger, our former communications manager, about this. You can now possess, use, and even grow cannabis in Virginia. But until they finish with the rules and regulations in regards to how you can sell it, which won't be until 2023, you can't actually buy it. So if you get caught with it, no matter where it came from, which can't possibly be any legal outlet, then you're good. Isn't that kind of strange, or isn't that pretty close to where things are over in Washington, D.C., Chris?
In D.C., it remains a gray market. And what that means is that you can't buy and sell cannabis itself as a commodity, but you can gift and donate cannabis. So oftentimes there will be nominal commodities available, like a smoothie or stickers. And then they just happen to come with a complimentary eighth or ounce or whatever you happen to be gifted. And it is an honor system, if you will. As far as its ability for enforcement, I have never, encountered the police, while being stopped with cannabis in the DMV area, so, I can thank my stars there. But all in all, I'm not entirely sure, how it will play out. Should you be hotboxing your car? No. Should you be smoking while driving? No. So those are still things that can still get you arrested in these newly legal states. So
and definitely don't smoke on federal property.
Of course, remember that if one of the alphabet agencies own it, you still cannot smoke on it.
So Virginia, the first state in the South to actually go ahead and move it forward, is actually moving forward. However, and let's throw in some politics here. There's a gentleman who's going to be running against Terry McAuliffe for governor by the name of Youngkin that is being pushed by the previous administration to get that spot. He actually did post the other day that they need to repeal all the cannabis laws in Virginia, because this whole idea about getting taxes as revenue from cannabis has been overblown, and that all the numbers in regards to taxes are concerned have really been pitiful in every single state they tried it. Now, I don't know where he gets his truth from, but it's not from the real world. It must be from Earth too, because the fact is most states that have had taxed cannabis have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in tax dollars put into their coffers, which a lot of people need, especially after the last year that we had.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, part of the issue is states in the South have been traditionally over the last 50 years states that thrive on low taxes. That's their attraction to get people to come there. We're tax havens. Come to Florida. We don't have an income tax. We don't tax medicine in Florida. And so you look at these other states in the South, and as the more and more begin to legalize it, they may run into an issue to where traditionally they haven't taxed certain commodities, certain products. And now, that's the whole pitch behind cannabis legalization, to create bipartisan support. Here's a product that we've been wasting our tax dollars locking up Americans trying to regulate, and we can save money on the criminal justice side, on the legal side of an already overworked legal system. And on top of it, we can generate new tax revenues. So, it can make the Republicans happy by cutting down big government. It can make Democrats happy by being able to generate revenue to fund, social programs without actually having to raise income taxes or sales taxes. And the fact is that in certain states like Colorado, they've raised enough revenue to make sure every kid could, eat for free in their school lunch programs. California is now doing that. They just passed a bill last week in California to where every kid in California will now have free lunch, not just poor kids, and that's often been an issue for kids who are working poor. Sometimes your parents make just enough for you not to qualify for any special assistance, but they don't make enough for you to live well. And that creates a lot of food insecurity. And I think it's very important that things like school lunches are funded. Things like clean air programs are funded. And if we can use cannabis revenues and taxes from cannabis revenues to do that, then by all means we should. But repealing it because, I don't think it's going to make as much money as we thought it would, is an absolute asinine idea. And I'm glad that guy didn't get elected.
Well, Youngkin is trying again, and he's pushing it for the next election. And let's just see how well he does, because the people of Virginia have already spoken. If somebody comes in there saying they plan on reversing it, of course, I can't help but thinking to the good folks of South Dakota, all 5 of them that I know, and they have to deal with Governor Kristi Noem. I spell it Gnome. She spells it differently, but she actually put a stop on the legalization in that state even after the voters voted for it, just like they did in Mississippi. Though Mississippi is still working on legislation, it is totally stuck over in South Dakota right now. But that is what happens. The reason happens when you have the wrong people in office who don't feel that they have any ownness to take care of their constituents in a way that they think their constituents want things done, but just the way they want things done for whatever reason. Maybe they want to appease a base that they felt pushed it up, or maybe because somebody gave them a whole bunch of campaign dollars that told them to do that. We don't really know what their motivation is all the time, but we know that things are changing, and they have to go along with the changes. And along with those lines, because I have to throw this out, Sha'Carri, we're with you. We have a runner here par excellence, fastest woman on earth practically, who was banned from being able to go on the 100-meter dash in the Olympics because of the fact that she tested positive for THC, which she was using to console herself at the point that her mom had just passed away as she's just getting to go into the Olympics. And it's even gotten worse, because at one point in time, they said that she was going to be allowed to go into the relay because her 30-day suspension would have ended just before the relay started. But now they're saying she's not going to Tokyo at all. because they feel that rules are rules, even if they are archaic and stupid and actually don't create any issues, because they are claiming that THC is a performance enhancing drug.
Not.
If that were the case, I would be a triathlon winner. I honestly think, and I think Chris would too.
Well, I mean, not to go against. I'm more. Richardson should run. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah.
But it has been known to like help people to like do further with their workouts, and like it's not necessarily like like steroids. It doesn't make your fucking muscles bigger, but it does help like alleviate pain and helps you really to get into your workouts. And like that's the difference though, is like you still got to work out. You still got to fucking do all your shit. Like you still have to like end up becoming the best. And it's not like it'll actually grow your fucking specific muscles. You know what I mean? It's not like fucking steroids. But it's helpful. A lot of people use it to help them with their workouts and with their recovery.
I mean, those people who are marathoners know you're running until you get to that point where you get to that Z wall situation where you suddenly break through the pain barrier, and then you can just keep on running and running and running and running until you stop. And cannabis actually helps work on that Z wall as far as moving it towards you, because you can manage pain better. That is not necessarily a performance enhancing drug, because if you don't want to run a marathon, you're not going to run a marathon. And if you aren't trained to run a marathon, your muscles won't do it.
Yeah,
it does not improve your muscles. And she's a sprinter, for goodness sakes. It's not a matter of just breaking through the pain to run 5 miles. It's a matter of having the musculature and the drive and the determination to be able to get past that line faster than everybody else.
And let's look at the logical contradiction that a lot of people are saying, that smoking weed is bad for you, that it can't be medicine because smoking like screws with your lungs. You know what I mean? So now you got a woman, actually like a swimmer and another runner, right, that are able to do this and win 10 or however many gold medals that are out there while smoking. Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to call it a performance enhancing drug, but it definitely didn't hurt them.
It didn't hurt Michael Phelps either.
Yeah.
Or Usain Bolt. Between Phelps and Bolt, they got 48 gold medals between them. But,
right.
Carlos, you pointed out the benefits of cannabis as an anti-inflammatory. That's no different than an Aleve or an ibuprofen. And then we don't disqualify athletes for taking Aleve and ibuprofen. Right. So why are we disqualifying athletes for utilizing cannabis?
Right.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. They're going into a lot of contradictions when they get into this. You know what I mean? Yep. Like this stuff is bad for you. There's no way. Now it's enhancing your performance. You can't use marijuana because it makes you a better runner.
No. Right? Look, if I was stoned out of my mind and the gun went off, I'd probably still be in the blocks. You know,
and you know, I kind of want to point this out. All right, so like marijuana was originally made illegal, right, due to some racist ideas, right? And she happens to be a black woman who's proud of being black, right? She also happens to be a gay woman, and she's forced to take these drug tests that aren't designed to specifically find things like heroin or fucking cocaine or crack. Like these tests are specifically designed to find marijuana. So here's a black woman trying to be the best woman at running in the world, right? And somebody's holding her back because she's got to take. It's a classic case of using marijuana as a racist tool,
and that's coming from the World Anti-Doping Association, or WADA. WADA, what do you think you're doing?
Well, Gary, I'm glad you said that, because Carlos has a link on the screen right now. It goes actually to a blog on our website, about letting Richardson run. But at the conclusion of that blog on our website is an actual petition you can sign to the World Anti-Doping Agency, demanding that they end marijuana testing for athletes. And I'm asking everyone, if you're following along in the chat, click the link. Feel free to read through the blog, but definitely scroll to the bottom and sign the petition. Sha'Carri should be allowed to run. And the fact of the matter is, in all of this, there was another athlete, white woman, who tested positive for steroids and blamed it on a pork burrito, and they allowed her to compete.
Oh, carnitas, you got to watch out for them
A
suckers.
pork burrito. She tested positive because she
Was
ate
it
pork.
pernil or was it
For
carnitas?
steroids. She
Jesus
tested
Christ.
for performance-enhancing steroids and blamed it on pork burrito, and they let her run. That is white privilege
I
to
want to
the
see a
epitome.
picture of this woman. If she is jacked like a motherfucker, and like hair on her face.
And I'll
shit.
be honest with you, I've been eating pernil and that kind of stuff for a long time. I haven't gotten anything out of it. I'm not having more muscular.
You just haven't found the right burrito, Gary. You just keep looking, buddy. You'll find it.
That's the way it is. So absolutely, let's get involved in that, and let's see if we can't make a change in regards to the World Anti-Doping Association, because they have got it wrong. I mean, the single convention of the UN changed last year. The world is changing. Germany is getting ready to go adult use. It's as the first country in Europe to go ahead and do that, along with possibly Portugal. And the rest of Europe is already have medical programs. And we need to move forward. They need to move forward and come to the realization that what they're looking for as a performance-enhancing drug, they're going after the wrong one. They're just and to Chris, what Chris is saying, there should never be a double standard for who or what you are in regards to how they they decide whether you should or should not be able to compete if a particular situation occurs with your testing. And that's just wrong.
Well, more and more professional sporting agencies are realizing that cannabis does nothing but harm the actual athletes. I mean, in the NFL, you get a longer suspension for cannabis than you do beating your wife in public. And that is just wrong on so many levels. You know, Ricky Williams was ahead of his time. So many of us judged him in the public light. Oh, this guy's a pothead who just, like, stop smoking. You're making millions of dollars. And it's like, no, I'm making millions of dollars. I've never been a millionaire before, and I have all this coming on me right now, all this anxiety. My body's aching. I'm getting hit by 300-pound men on a daily basis. A little bit of cannabis at the end of the day is not killing anybody, but they attempted to crucify him and kill his career. And then here we are today. We've seen other athletes. Michael Phelps got actually caught on camera hitting a bong rip. And what they do, they didn't take his Wheaties endorsements away. They made him do a public apology tour on the night shows, and that was the end of it.
I get the munchies. I like Wheaties. Sorry to cut you off, kiddo.
No, that's the only time you eat cereal, right? Like a normal American adult only eats cereal when they got the munchies, right?
It is
the perfect munchy food. I definitely think it's the perfect munchy food. I mean, you think about it, you got like fucking milk in there to kill your cotton mouth, and then you got the munchies, like the sugar and shit. So, like, I want some cereal.
Well, Carlos, sensationalism and racism when it comes to marijuana, illegality have always gone hand in hand. I'm looking at that poster behind you, and it's saying marijuana is a dangerous drug. And there's a guy who looks like Billy D. Williams injecting a needle into a white woman's arm on that poster. And I'm just like, you don't inject marijuanas. So why is that on the poster? Like, why did the government think that was an appropriate ad in any way, shape, or form?
I remember you actually pointing, because this is a very famous propaganda. And I remember you pointing to it one day, and you're like, look, man, like, doesn't that look like a black guy? Like, didn't they make his nose big, and like this is like racistly drawn as a black guy?
Well, it must be.
And
that actually came from the King James Bible, which said that the mark of Cain was the darkened skin and the flattened nose. I think King James was a racist. I don't know, possibly.
I think
or the people who helped him write his new version of the Bible. But that's the kind of thing we've been dealing with for like, so many years.
Who would ever argue is like, no, King James was not a racist.
No,
we're all racist.
He just started a transatlantic slave trade for England and colonized the entire New World where there were native people already here. How could he be a racist?
If only they had critical race theory in the Middle Ages, right?
Well, Gary, that's an interesting thing. So many things intersect with cannabis policy. Critical race theory is something that really, if you look at it, cannabis is perfect for examination through the lens of critical race theory. Why do we have a policy of a plant that Thomas Jefferson was selling in order to acquire arms for the Continental Army? And yet somehow in this nation's history in the last 50 years, it has become public enemy number one, according to Nixon.
Yeah, Nixon had a lot of public enemy number ones. He saw them all over the place. He was just slightly paranoid. I don't know if it had to do with his Quaker background or what, but Tricky Dick was having a lot of issues.
Well, his domestic policy advisor, John Ehrlichman, as he got older in life, and I don't know if he wanted to cleanse his soul or get into heaven or what, pointed out that they knew that, the anti-war left and the civil rights leaders were the main voting bloc that was going to be a hindrance to their domestic policy. And, they knew they couldn't make it illegal to be poor or young or black, but they do know what people's pleasures are. And if they knew that, we could over criminalize something that everybody utilizes, like cannabis, like marijuana, then they could effectively squash any domestic opposition to them politically. And then we have a whole group of people who have grown up, a lot of pretty much Gen Xers, if you will, who told this line of rules are rules. And I'm thinking, since when in America do we mask fascism with legalism? Since when in America do we attempt to mask, your patriotism for the U.S. track and field team, with the racism that you really intend to? Because I've seen this argument from so many people, and it goes across the political spectrum. It's not just Republicans. It's not just Democrats. It's a whole slew of people out there giving this lame-ass excuse, oh, these are the rules and everyone should follow them. And I'm like, shut up. If the rules are racist, if the rules are bad, they should be broken. They should be changed. And it just irritates me to no end that people can't wake up and realize that. I mean, for the guy who, Carlos says doesn't exist, or rather the divinity of that guy doesn't exist. Jesus was someone who broke the rules consistently. He said these rules are bullshit, and he broke them. Oh, look at him. He's doing something on the Sabbath. Oh my God, look at this. And here's my thing. In the grand scheme of things, if you see something is wrong, then what would Jesus do? In some situations, he'd flip over a table and start whipping people's ass publicly. And I think
personally, I just think that Jesus wanted to get stoned.
And he got the cross. Hey, so here's the thing, though. I fully believe this. Nobody has any balls anymore. Everybody wants to fall in line and conform.
Well, John Wayne Babbitt doesn't have it.
Everybody says that while they're conforming, that because they're conforming to this specific group, that they're the real renegades. But the truth is that everybody's just trying to be a part of a group.
Now, you know something? Suncoast Normal, we're the renegades because we're trying to go ahead and change things for the better.
You guys should totally join our group.
I think you should totally join our group because we are a membership-driven organization. And if you go ahead and become a member, you will get to go with us to go ahead and make the changes in this program to make things happen, to make things better. Because we don't just sit on the sidelines and say, we think this should change. We go up to the front line and we say, we're getting ready to change it. Now, to that effect, I wanted to go ahead and throw something out here because this will be the end of the G spot here for the day. Get excited, folks. But the situation is here in Florida, we have a medical program, and for a very good reason, because people need this medically. And yet, I guess it's a new expression out there talking about the people who run a lot of these companies are called Chads. And I don't think they're talking about those little tiny pieces of paper that when you punch out the ballot, it keeps on hanging. But the fact that these are guys who are like banker types and finance types who are getting involved in the cannabis industry who know nothing about cannabis. The only thing they understand, which is green, is money, and everything else is just looks like money. That's just the way it is with these guys. So we need to go ahead and fix our medical program to make sure it looks medical, because even just in looking at the advertising over for 710 weekend, it looks more like ads for adult use as opposed to for medical. I didn't say anything about a sale on a product which does great for Crohn's, or a sale on a product which does great for PTSD, or a sale on a product which does good for anxiety syndrome, or any of the other things we're trying to battle there. What they say is that this will get you a nice buzz. This will get you a different kind of buzz. And if I go into a dispensary and I ask them about a particular product and they say, this thing has 23.4% THC, and I'll say, fine, what does it do? What conditions is it good for? What is the best condition for my daughter's migraines? And I get the blankest stares you've ever seen in your life. And then I ask him, what is the cannabinoid profile and what does it do for this product? Why does it work because of this cannabinoid profile? Or why does it work because of the terpene profiles? If they don't know what a terpene profile is or a cannabinoid profile is or what it does, they're selling an adult use product. And there's nothing wrong if we actually had an adult use program, but we're talking about people who need this for medical use. And if we go in there and we have people behind the desk who are paying minimum wage or just slightly above, have no certification, have very, very little training, and really don't know the product. Are they doing the benefit they should be doing? And to that effect, I'm working on another bill for this next session that I'm parsing right now to try to fix the situation. And one of the ideas that I came up with, of course, is to make certain that those guys behind the counter have some kind of certification, some kind of training program where they also have testing and a certificate, which says they actually know what the hell they're selling. We actually know how the heck it works, have a little idea of pharmacology. And beyond that, I believe that for a dispensary that has at least 5 dispensaries, that should have a registered pharmacist on call, either to talk to patients in person before they go in there and make their decisions, or to talk to them via telehealth. And therefore, they would have more be better informed as to what they're doing, and to make certain they don't buy a product that costs them an arm and a leg, and yet it doesn't help their arms or their legs. Essentially, I think that is so important. So I'm parsing the language right now, and if you guys could give me an idea of what you think about this and what you think should be in the bill, let's get together and let's go ahead and put this forward. And then we'll add it to the other bills that I've already started pitching to various senators and representatives that we've done in the past, as in the employee protection bill, so that you don't lose your job because you have a medical card, the medical protection bill that makes certain that you can't get kicked out of your assisted living facility, or if you're in the hospital, they don't take away your medicine, and you, for God's sakes, don't get kicked off that transplant list because of the fact you have a medical card. And of course, we are going to try to expand the number of qualifying conditions to more than just the 10 that we have right now, to include so much more that it can possibly do, so the doctors don't have to do any mental gymnastics when it comes to giving you a recommendation. They can give it exactly for what you have, not whether your situation is of a like or similar kind that the Board of Medicine or the Board of Osteopathic Medicine can say no to later on because they feel that they don't agree with your thought process. So we need to go ahead and fix that. And of course, tourist reciprocity. We had such a bad year of tourism in 2020, and Florida lives on their tourism. We usually have 120 million tourists every year. And if we think about the fact that we have 120 million tourists every year, and that approximately 9% of the country right now has a medical card, looking at that, if you create a situation where for $10 you can get a reciprocity fee that allow you to go to MMTC, give them the ticket and buy as much as you need for your stay here, that could actually, number one, allow people to come to Florida and get the medicine they need, so they don't have to worry about people not having their medicine while they're here, because that can actually change vacation plans. I don't want you guys to go ahead and have to freeze your tuchus out in Colorado for a vacation when you can come to sunny Florida. But if sunny Florida doesn't allow you to have the medicine that you need for your PTSD or for your fibromyalgia or whatever, it doesn't become an option for you. So let's go ahead and make it easier for people to get reciprocity. And those reciprocity fees, if you have a $10 fee for each person to go to the MMTC and purchase what they need for that could actually raise approximately $70 to $80 million for the state of Florida and pay for that stupid Visit Florida tourism advertising program. Hopefully they won't do any more $1 million commercials with Pitbull. That was kind of like overpriced. But the fact is, they actually are doing commercials in Abu Dhabi to come to Florida, and our tax dollars are paying for it.
Well, Gary, years ago, the Florida legislature stopped giving out subsidies to the film industry. So many of the very prominent shows like CSI Miami that you think take place in Florida are filmed in North Carolina or Georgia. It's a shame. It's a shame. And you mentioned earlier about folks who work in the dispensaries. Really the only requirement is you can pass a level 2 background check, which precludes folks who have previous legacy market experience in many cases. If you've been popped while working in the legacy market, you'll never be allowed to work in Florida's legal medical marijuana market until they change the laws and change the regulations around employment. And I think that's a big issue that has to be addressed. But one thing that we can see hope on in the near future that I think is important is that cannabis is a nonpartisan, pan-partisan, if you will, bill. In that regardless of what political ideology you affiliate with, a majority of people across every ideology believe that cannabis should be legal. And to that point, there is now a new group called the Cannabis Freedom Alliance, which is being bringing together right-wing groups as well, like Americans for Prosperity. And there's some clear goals. You know, you can get the most right-wing Republicans and the most left-wing of Bernie Sanders supporters together to say that cannabis should be a freedom that we have in this country, plain and simple. And there's some clear goals in establishing a regulatory framework that promotes public safety while allowing innovation, industry, and research to thrive, but also ensuring that individuals previously involved in the illicit market can effectively secure a second chance and contribute to the legal market. And I think that is a key point there that, you know, across the political spectrum, we all should be able to agree on, is that this was made illegally for the wrong reasons. People have criminal records and histories that they're saddled with, and that should not preclude you from getting involved into a brand new market. We should release every pot prisoner in America, plain and simple.
Illinois is doing mass expungements. New York is doing mass expungements. New Jersey is doing mass expungements. How about Florida? We've got our jails pretty damn full, and our prisons are pretty damn full. And a lot of it is nonviolent cannabis offenses. And a lot of them, they couldn't afford sometimes even the treatment programs. And so therefore they end up getting jail time, just like they couldn't afford to pay their bail bonds. And they end up locked up behind bars for what it really should not even be a crime, according to the Schaefer report, which was commissioned by Nixon after the Controlled Substance Act, said cannabis possession should not be an offense, but merely contraband in public, just like alcohol. But we will have to change that in due time. Now, Chris, there was something that came up this last week. The Department of Commerce actually had decided to reschedule cannabis dispensaries and retail shops as smoke shops. Now, what does that necessarily mean for dispensaries and their attitude towards cannabis as a legal product as opposed to an illegal product? Any idea?
I think your mic went out, you know.
I have no idea, you know, how this is going to affect the grand scheme of things. You know, that's the really the biggest part, is that we cannot do cannabis legalization piecemeal, because as you can see, we have a situation now where over half the country, you know, lives in states where they have access to grow it, you know, but then you might be in the state next door where you can lose your kids for having it. You know, you could drive to grandma's house because she's sick 2 states away, and you just happen on the way back to get pulled over, and then you end up in a legal battle you never thought you'd be in. So what I'm saying is that cannabis legalization has to come from the top. If Congress and the President of the United States cannot get their shit together to get this passed, then there's no reason why they should get reelected. And this is coming from someone who's been a lifelong Democrat. Democrats, get your shit together and legalize weed.
I think that there is problems on both sides. Wouldn't you agree?
At this point, guys, let's not get into Republican, Democrat. We've been talking about a lot of bullshit that's going on throughout the entire show. And, you know, it's all important shit. I'm not calling it bullshit. I'm calling it important shit. But, you know, this is all draft stuff, and I really want to get into, you know, some good things to come.
Yeah, we wanted to say about the fact that even though 710 was yesterday, we're not over with 710 here at Suncoast Normal. We have a 710 event actually coming on 7:30 because of the fact we want to drag this out.
Yeah, we want 20 days of 710.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If you got 12 days of Christmas, we should have 20 days of dabs.
So on July,
create an advent calendar for that. Can't we do that with a bud behind each one?
So on
or a dab for
July 30th. Well, we could do like a dab a day for 20 days. or 20 dabs a day for.
But guys, if you do
20.
that, clean your rigs. I mean,
Set
I don't
up-
want to see that yellow gooky stuff at the bottom. That's not good for
I
you.
don't want to limit the amount of dabs I got to do for 710.
But you still gotta clean
I
in
gotta
between,
do
don't
more
you
than
think?
20 dabs a day. And no, I'm not. I never clean my rig. You just get a new one, Gary.
Yes.
But we've got a
We're not as
talent
rich
show
as you.
coming up on July 30th. No, just buy rigs for me.
Carlos has more stained glass in his collection than the medieval church.
I cleaned some of my old pieces recently, and yeah, so they're gone.
You should break up your rigs and just tape them to the window so you have a nice little stained glass window.
All right, let's
That
talk
makes
about the
perfect sense.
goddamn talent show instead of about dirty bongs.
So
and
what-
pipes.
Hey, if I got G-Spot, you got Dirty Bongs.
That's the name of my new.
So
segment.
what is going to happen on 7:30 that we are involved in and our membership is going to be involved in, and anybody else who wants to come by and commute with greatness?
Well, we want to show the talents of our membership base, and we want to show that marijuana people have talents and are successful and are great people. So we're going to hold a talent show.
That's
Now,
right.
for talent shows, by the way, cannabis is a performance-enhancing drug.
Yes. Yeah.
But we
The
will not
higher
be
you are for
tested.
the talent show, the better you will do.
Probably.
It's
probably.
just a fact.
And
But
if you
Kenna,
bomb at
you-
the talent show, you'll feel much better about yourself if you're high.
Or you'll get up to the mic and you'll totally forget what you were going to do.
and we've got a special celebrity judge, don't we, Kenna?
Yes. So our talent showcase, Suncoast Normal's Got Talent. If you're a local artist, whether you're a singer, a comedian, a musician, come on out, share your talent. It is a competition. So, for all the talent entry fees, the grand prize will be $300 in cash to the winning talent. And we have a very special celebrity guest judge who is a very locally talented artist in the city of Tampa. Hip hop star Tom G will be a celebrity judge and will be closing out the night performing a couple songs in his guest set. So shout out to Tom and Team Fetty for being a part of this amazing event. Tampa is going to show out. So get your advance tickets now while they're on sale. If you're interested in entering as a talent or you know someone who's talented, get them now before we close out the talent entries. We were going to have a very exciting night. It's going to be a lot of fun. So get your tickets now, and we will be seeing all of y'all at the end of this month at Suncoast Normal's Got Talent.
Yeah, we're almost through this pandemic, folks. It's about time to open up and have some fun again. And this is our way of contributing to the new normal. The new get that the new normal. We're us. We're Suncoast Normal.
We're not only normal, but we're talented.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
That's right. Some of us have been able to be part of some amazing events that we've had in the past, like our most recent one, the Best Blunt in the Bay Rolling Competition. So, if you think you have a talent as well, I'm willing to judge that. If you can, within 5 minutes, roll me a super talented blunt on stage that smokes and works well, looks really cool, I'm willing to take that as a talent entry as well. So bring your talents, enter into the show. $300 cash prize for the winner. Very funny comedian who's going to MC the event, Rio Paris, who you've all have seen at the Improv, Side Splitters, as well as on Netflix. So I'm really excited for this event. And, in the grand scheme of things, team, everything goes to a good cause, and that is proceeds going to legalize it.
And I think that pretty much wraps us up for today. I got to start my Sunday. I've rotated out for the time being.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the end of the show, guys.
Oh,
I
jump
love
into
you guys.
rotation next Sunday, y'all.
Later.